My name is Carolyn, and I talk to the spirit world. Travel with me to a dimension filled with love, light, and joyful surprises. Welcome to Carolyn's Psychic Playroom. Hi everybody, it's Carolyn Wilkins here. Thrilled to be with you guys again, alive and well to see another month here in the Psychic Playroom. I hope you're all having a fabulous fall. It finally feels like fall here in New England. It's getting chilly, it's getting dark, but there's also that crispness in the air and that energy of school back in session, things revving up, new beginnings. For me, although fall is technically the end of the year, it actually in many ways, for me having been a teacher for so long, always feels like the beginning of something. So I hope that you are beginning something wonderful and exciting this year. This time on the Psychic Playroom, I always have awesome guests, and I'm setting this next one up while I talk to you here. But I always have awesome guests. But this guest in particular, if you're a person who has struggled with low self-esteem, with doubting yourself, I'm talking about beginning new things, and I'm all in this, new year way, woohoo. But if you're sort of feeling like, I have a great big wonderful project, but I don't know if I can really pull it off. I try to do things, but they never quite come to fruition the way that I hope they will. If you're a little bit in that thing and feeling a little bit stuck, I have a great interview for you. I'm going to be talking with my friend Priscilla Keresey, who has written a new book that she's going to talk about in this little segment. And it's particularly for people who are struggling with this whole issue of believing in themselves, getting themselves started, etc. The book is called The Self-Esteem Solution. And without further ado, I'm going to share this wonderful interview I did with Priscilla. Okay, hold on 1 second. Hello, everybody. Carolyn Wilkins here, and I'm thrilled to have today as my guest on the Psychic Playroom, Ms. Priscilla Keresey, who is the author of a brand new book called The Self-Esteem Solution. And Priscilla is also my colleague as a student of the great British medium, Mavis Patilla. And so we're going to have a great conversation both about her upcoming book and about mediumship, one of my favorite subjects. So welcome, Priscilla.
Thank you, Carolyn.
It is a pleasure to have you here. So very quickly, tell the people a little bit about your new book. I know it's called The Self-Esteem Solution.
Here it is.
Lovely. The Self-Esteem Solution. Right. And it's obviously available on Amazon. So tell us a little bit, what inspired you to write the book in the first place?
Well, for about 20 years, I've been a psychic medium and a hypnotist and a spiritual coach. And a few years ago, everything sort of fell together. You know, spirit works in amazing ways, that I just realized that even though these are very different streams of people, that they really all were presenting the same problem, which is that they didn't value themselves as, I feel, spirit or God, or even their higher mind, or whether you think about it logically or spiritually or philosophically. We're all good people. We're all born with a whole, complete spirit. And I noticed in these three very distinct audiences that even if they came to lose weight or they came because they felt like they didn't have a passion in life, it all came down to not valuing themselves first and foremost. And so when it all kind of fell together, I thought, I've got to write this down. And it turned into the Self-Esteem Solution.
Fabulous, because I will say I agree with you, and it's amazing to me how even now in my late middle age, one is continually discovering new areas of life where self-esteem becomes important and where one becomes aware, and I'm speaking for myself, of areas in my life where my self-esteem, despite having spent over 20 years in the kind of new age self-growth kind of movement, how there are still areas and weak points where one doesn't trust oneself, where one doesn't believe in oneself. And just very quickly, as a student of mediumship, have you found that your work as a developing medium has challenged even you, a self-esteem expert, in this way? Tell me your thoughts about that.
Oh, I think the spirit people have truly informed my sense of self-worth, and it seems to always come through in messages with my clients, because really the bottom line that I hear, again, from spirit people, whether they were little kids or grown-ups or elderly folks, when they come through to talk to their loved ones, the bottom line message is, please stop judging yourselves. I forgive you. You are forgiven. Forgive yourself. Everything comes out in the wash in the spirit world. You'll have a better the first book I wrote was called, it was about mediumship, and it's called It Will All Make Sense When You're Dead. That's because when we get into the spirit world, we're still intelligent people. We still have, some of the things that made us who we are, of course, but we also have just a greater understanding of where we went wrong, and if you really truly value yourself, as the spirit people keep reminding me and my clients, you don't hold grudges, you don't struggle with jealousy or abuse, or you find a way to get past those poor habits or the ways we continually let ourselves down. So mediumship really, I think, was the door that opened. In fact, I think it was during or right after a session with a group that everything kind of fell together for me, as I was talking about. Like, I keep hearing from the spirit people, stop judging yourselves, just recognize first with your spirit. Now, our behaviors aren't always perfect, but our spirits always are. So that mediumship really set me on the right path for my own personal understanding of how important self-worth is, and something that I regularly convey to my clients.
Wow, that is really a mouthful that you said. I do feel mediumship is the golden road to self-development. But moving back to your book, I just had downloaded it. And by the way, tell us once again what the book is called.
It's called The Self-Esteem Solution.
All right. And it's available
on Amazon, yes. So you can, find it by Googling the name, or typing in the name, or typing in my name, and it will come up, as well as some of the other books that I've written. And,
fabulous.
I've just written also, it's just come back from the editor now. I'll be releasing that in a month. It's called Rise and Shine, Recover Your Inherent Self-Esteem and Shine. And it's 52 chapters of some of the insidious ways that self-esteem presents itself, like unilateral contracts, or overachieving or underachieving, or being passive aggressive, how low self-esteem really is just woven into so much of the daily challenges that we have. And so Rise and Shine addresses 52 of those in a kind of a week-by-week format. So it's really a whole year's worth of ways to recover inherent self-esteem. Does not need to be read in order. You can open it to a chapter, and it's 5 days. So I wrote it, when I wrote it, I was like, Monday, here's the topic, unilateral contracts, for example. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, there are different exercises to recognize that in yourself if you do that, to get around that, to communicate more directly, to not allow people to involve you in unilateral contracts, for example. So that's coming out in about a month.
Well, fabulous. And definitely we will have to have another conversation about that when the new book comes out. But just to keep everyone on track, Self-Esteem Solution is the first book to really begin to address this issue. And just very quickly, what are some of the ways in which a person can even recognize that they're operating under self-esteem? Because I think most of the time we know we're not supposed to have it. We know we're supposed to feel good about ourselves, but there are certain warning signs. And I saw this in the first couple of chapters, you touch on that. So very quickly, what are some of the warning signs that a person can look out for to realize, oh, this is self-esteem at work?
So I think for me, one of the real flags that a self-esteem might be at an issue is defensiveness. So I remember when I decided a few years ago when I was writing this, that whenever I felt defensive, it was gonna be a signal for me, dig here. And I discovered that it was really my self-esteem, my sense of self-worth that caused me to be defensive. Whether I was rejecting an idea that somebody had or feeling criticized, and I realized, well, here's a real avenue to understanding that I'm having an issue here. Also, I used to be pretty passive aggressive. So, it was hard for me to communicate honestly and kind of let the chips fall where they may, and not feel like I had to manage somebody else's feelings. So if you're out there and you feel like, oh, I shouldn't speak my mind because somebody else might be uncomfortable, to me, that's a signal of struggling with self-worth. Now that, of course, isn't, permission to go be rude or disrespectful, but if we are minimizing our own self-expression so that someone else doesn't have to deal with their insecurities, you've got a low self-esteem issue there. And it's also important to know that because we feel first and think second, right? So we might be triggered, we might have reactions, we might have recovered our inherent self-esteem and going through life feeling great. And then you go home and you hear mom say that thing in that tone of voice and, oh, you feel like 12 years old again, right? We're always going to do that. But when you have recovered your natural inherent self-esteem, it doesn't stick. Doesn't ruin the weekend or the rest of the day. You don't want to stew in silence and not go, I'm fine, and talk to people like that. So, it's easier, I think, to see the signals of low self-esteem. And when you're feeling high self-esteem or healthy self-esteem, remember, it's not arrogance, it's not toxic pride, it's not pushing everybody around or being domineering. It's knowing that you can be you and I can be me. And that's okay. And I don't have to change you, and you don't, I'm not going to let you domineer me and change me. I can stick to my convictions. So it's really, there's so much serenity and personal peace when we have a healthy self-esteem.
That is fabulous. So believe it or not, Priscilla, we have come to the end of our interview time. But
can I just say one more thing, Carolyn? Because I think your listeners or viewers might like to know that in the Self-Esteem Solution, there's a whole action plan. So I have 3 different kind of action plans. If you're kind of a thinker, a real logical person, if you're a spiritual, psychic mediumship, law of attraction kind of person, or if you're a Christian, faith, kind of more traditional faith-based person, there are specific action plans to begin to recover your healthy self-esteem. And in there are free meditations to connect with your spirit guides, to some self-hypnosis, to get to know yourself better, to connect with your loved ones in spirit. So those are free as part of the book as well.
Oh, that's fabulous. So it's a complete full program.
Yes.
I love it. So can you hold up the book once again and tell us the name of it?
It's called The Self-Esteem Solution. And
All
the
right.
subtitle is The Breakthrough Plan to Overcome Obstacles, Determine Your Destiny, and Pursue Your Extraordinary Life.
And who doesn't want to do that?
Exactly.
So there you have it, Psychic Playroom friends. Priscilla Keresey, her new book, The Self-Esteem Solution. Check it out. And we are going to say goodbye for now. Thank you so much
so much for
on
having
this
me on
show.
here. I think you're a fabulous person and love your show.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
So, what did you think? Wasn't that fun? If you're interested in finding more out about Priscilla or about the book, you can always write me, psychicplayroom@gmail.com. I can tell you more. Google the book and you'll find out everything you need to know. Yeah. So now we move into the next really important segment of the show. I always do some readings for people who have contacted me during the month. If you would like to receive a reading here on the show, write me at psychicplayroom@gmail.com and I will be happy to read for you. So, our first question comes from CN. And the question originally came in was ask the cards what people are saying about me. And I always have a tendency to try to phrase the question in a little broader way. I feel that it gives a more complete answer and a higher perspective. So, what I'm going to ask the cards is what does CN need to know about the people around her and what they are saying? Are they being supportive? Are they gossiping? What does she need to know in order to move forward? So I'm shuffling the cards, and as you know, we're using the Akashic Record Tarot, and I'm using basically is my psychic ability to connect soul to soul with CN and use the cards to speak to the issue of her question. What does she need to know about the people around her? And I'm going to kind of spread them out. I've been shuffling. I'm going to pull a card here. And this card is the increscent moon. Okay? This is a moon that is waning. This is a moon where it's already hit full and now it's waning. And what we have here is a man who is making a sculpture, right, of a muse, but he looks a little tired to me and he looks a little running out of energy. And I'm going to take this to mean in a psychic way, I feel that you have some people around you who may be draining your energy. And I think that this is probably why you asked the question, is that you're actually aware of something around you that doesn't feel quite right. And I have a feeling that this is a person who is otherwise well-meaning. I'm feeling a friend or family member. It's not that they actually want to hurt you, but they don't quite believe in what you're doing at some level, and therefore they're saying things that sap your confidence and make it a little harder for you to build that little sculpture that you're trying to build. I'm going to pull one more card really quick, and that card is the garden. I do feel here you have a man looking off in the distance and a little girl looking at flowers in a garden. I'm wondering whether there are two people who are younger than you, maybe not little children, but children, and that may be involved with this situation. In my mind, I'm kind of looking and seeing that these are people who are commenting on what you're doing from the peanut gallery, as it were. And although they mean well and although they want to be helpful, in fact, the energy is not helpful. And that is why you're feeling the need to ask a question: what are people saying about me? So, my suggestion to you around this is, just like the man is with the spyglass there in the garden, to look beyond the immediate. I wouldn't pay too much attention to these people. I think they mean well. I don't think that they're malicious. I think it's just they don't understand and they're not in a position to know what it is that you're really doing. So don't allow them to sap your confidence. Back to the subject of the book, Self-Esteem. Don't let anyone drain you. And if they're continuing to make comments, maybe just gently remind them that in fact you know what you're doing and that they will know soon and very soon. But in the meantime, to refrain from commenting if possible, without losing your temper and without getting too involved in conflict with it. Okay, CN, I hope that that is helpful. I'm going to move on now to my next question, which comes from CL. And CL is asking, is it in my best interest to start transitioning to living in Dublin and in Boston? And by that, she means 6 months in Dublin and 6 months in Boston. So the question is about moving. Is it best to be thinking about making that transition, half and half? What does CL need to know about Dublin, about life there in between? And I'm shuffling the cards to see what they might want to contribute to this very important question. As I'm shuffling, I'm getting an exciting feeling for you around Dublin, actually. But let's see what the cards have to say. I'm kind of stirring them up here. I'm pulling one, and this is intricacies and industry. Okay, and I don't know if you can see in the card, but there's an architect here, and he's working on plans for a cathedral, which is being built. And the way I interpret that is, first of all, just unobvious to me. I've never been to Dublin, but I know it's an old city and it's got lots of churches. Okay, but I think also that this is a plan that you have had going on in the back of your mind for some time. Since I know you personally, I'll just get out there that I know that you do already travel back and forth. So I'm sure this isn't the first time you're thinking of the plan. But the point is, you have been putting things in place to make this shift. And I see this as a shift that will be made over time. And I love the idea of you're doing 6 months, 6 months, because it will give you a time to build up your Dublin experience. I think there's already a great vibe there for you in Dublin. I know you love it there, but building it slowly but surely and constructing a plan. And so I would say, yes, I would consider moving forward with the half year, rather than just jump into it all at once and move to Dublin. No, do it gradually but steadily forward. This is going to be a good move for you, CL. Okay, I hope that's helpful. My last question tonight is from E.T. He wants to know about his long-term romantic partner. And he wants to know, has he made the right choice? So over time, domestic partner. I'm going to shuffle very quickly. E.T., your domestic partner. I'm going to shuffle a little bit. What does E.T. need to know about his domestic partnership. And interestingly, it comes up two-sided. This is a two-sided card. I don't know if you can really see it, but it's summer and winter. And depending how you turn it, it's either a winter scene or a summer scene. What that says to me is this is a tempestuous relationship that has been over time, for some time, which you already mentioned in your question, 20 years, and it has had its ups and downs. It's had its winters and summers. All has not been smooth, but I do feel that the two of you have worn each other smooth at this point because you've been together so long. I'm pulling one more card for you, and that is will, wisdom, and mind. And what this says to me in my last minute here with you is that you have the ability to make a determination, to use your will to decide this is it, not to vacillate. You are going to be the one to decide. And I have a feeling if you've been in it this long, you've seen the up, you've seen the down, you know what it is. And yes, my guess is this is a relationship you are destined to work through and have been working through for some time. All right, everybody, believe it or not, we have come to the end of another month of Carolyn's Psychic Playroom. Please write me with any questions, concerns, or problems. And meanwhile, I'm going to say goodbye for now. All right? Goodbye, everybody.
Thoughts are things with the energy to make life better for you and for me. Touch the light. Oh, touch the light.